Word spread through the Nexus like fire. Within hours, everyone on the station knew what the human had done. Within days, the story reached beyond the station, traveling through trade routes and communication networks until it touched every corner of known space. A human had paid 17 years of servitude, 30 years of his life, his ability to dream, and his most precious memory to save one person. The mathematics made no sense to anyone who heard it. On the Vethkai homeworld, the Council of Minds gathered to discuss the human anomaly. They were the leaders of their species, connected through a vast neural network that let them think as one. The plague had damaged that network badly. Many of the council were dying. The human called Marcus Cole has made an exchange that defies all logic, the speaker announced. He has traded approximately 70% of his remaining quality existence for the freedom of one scientist. By any calculation, this is inefficient. Perhaps humans do not understand math, suggested one counselor. Humans built starships, another replied. They understand math. They simply choose to ignore it. Then they are insane. Perhaps. Or perhaps they know something we do not. The debate continued for hours. In the end, the council could not reach a conclusion. The human behavior was simply too strange to explain. Meanwhile, in the halls of the Coalition Parliament, Ambassador Chen Wei-Lin was facing similar questions. Representatives from a dozen species demanded answers. This Commander Cole has embarrassed humanity, said Councillor Dexara of the Vethkai. His actions suggest that humans cannot make rational decisions. How can we trust a species that throws away its life for minimal gain? Ambassador Chen smiled slightly. It was a smile that made several representatives uncomfortable. Minimal gain? She asked. Is that what you think happened? He traded his life for one person. The mathematics are simple. The mathematics are wrong. Ambassador Chen stood and activated a display screen. Numbers and projections filled the air. Dr. Okonkwo arrived at our research facility 3 days ago. She has already begun work on the neural plague cure. Our scientists estimate she will complete her research within 4 months. 4 months is still too long. Millions will die. Millions instead of billions, Counselor. Ambassador Chen let that sink in. If Dr. Okonkwo had remained captive, our best projections suggest the plague would have spread to 9 more systems before we could develop an alternative treatment. Estimated deaths: 2.3 billion beings across 17 worlds. Mostly Vethkai. Silence fell over the chamber. Commander Cole did not trade his life for one person. Ambassador Chen continued. He traded it for time. Time that will save more lives than any of us can imagine. The mathematics, Counselor, are quite simple. They just require a different way of counting. Back on the Nexus, Marcus knew nothing of these debates. He was too busy working. The station masters had assigned him to maintenance. It was hard work, crawling through narrow passages, repairing ancient systems, cleaning filters that had not been touched in centuries. The air in the deep levels was bad. The heat was terrible. Marcus worked until his body screamed for rest, then slept without dreams in a small cell they had given him. 3 months into his servitude, he received a message. It was from Yara. Marcus, her voice said through the small speaker in his cell. I wanted you to know that we're making progress. The cure is coming together. We've already begun testing. It's working. It's really working. You did this. You made this possible. I don't know how to thank you. I don't know if there are words. But I want you to know that every life we save, every person who gets to keep their memories and their mind, that's because of you. Please stay strong. I'm going to find a way to help you. I promise. Marcus listened to the message 3 times. Then he got up and went back to work. The other beings on the station did not know what to make of him. Humans were rare on the Nexus, and humans who served there were unheard of. Some of the workers avoided him. Some tried to bully him, testing this strange creature who had given away everything. Marcus did not fight back, but he did not break either. He simply kept working. One day, a young Bethkai approached him during a rest period. The young one's neural connections were damaged, clear signs of the plague. He was dying slowly, and he knew it. "You are the human who saved the scientist," the young Bethkai said. "Yes, my elders say you are foolish. They say you do not understand value. They say your sacrifice was irrational." Marcus set down his tools and looked at the young one. "What do you think?" The young Bethkai was quiet for a moment. His damaged neural network flickered with light as he struggled to form thoughts. "I think," he said slowly, "that I am dying. The plague is taking me. Every day I lose a little more of myself. Soon I will forget my own name. Soon I will forget everyone I love. And there is nothing anyone can do. I'm sorry. But the scientist you saved, she is making a cure. It will not come in time for me. But it will come in time for my younger brother. It will come in time for my parents. It will come in time for millions of others." The young Bethkai looked at Marcus with eyes that were already starting to go dim. "I think that what you did was the most valuable thing I have ever seen anyone do." Marcus did not know what to say. He reached out and put his hand on the young one's shoulder. "What is your name?" he asked. "Velkar." "Velkar, I'm going to remember you. I'm going to remember that you understood." The young Bethkai's face changed in a way that might have been a smile. "Thank you, human. That is more than I could ask." 6 months later, the cure was announced. Dr. Yara Okonkwo stood before the Coalition Parliament and presented her findings. The neural plague could be stopped. The dying would live. The forgotten would remember dot across the galaxy. Celebrations erupted. On Bethkai worlds, people wept with relief. On human stations, crowds cheered for a scientist most of them had never heard of before. On the Nexus, Marcus heard the news through the station's communication system. He was deep in the maintenance tunnels, replacing a broken power conduit. The announcement came through scratchy and unclear, but he understood enough. She had done it. Yara had finished her work. Marcus sat down in the narrow tunnel and let his head rest against the wall. He thought about all the lives that would be saved. He thought about all the children who would grow up with their minds intact. He thought about parents who would not have to watch their families forget them. He thought about Velkar, who had died 2 months ago, just before the cure was ready. Just a little too soon. Then he got up and went back to work. He still had 16.5 years of servitude left. The job was not going to do itself. The pain began immediately. Marcus had expected something physical, something he could fight against. But this was different. This was like having pieces of himself torn away from the inside. The first thing to go was the memory of his greatest joy. The Arbiter's tendrils touched his temples, and suddenly Marcus was reliving that moment. His daughter Elena was being born. He was holding her for the first time, feeling her tiny weight in his arms, seeing her eyes open and look at him. The love he felt was overwhelming, like nothing he had ever experienced. This was what it meant to be alive. This was what everything was for. Then it was gone. Marcus gasped and stumbled backward. He knew he had a daughter. He knew her name was Elena. He knew he loved her. But the memory of holding her for the first time, the feeling of that moment, was simply not there anymore. In its place was emptiness, like a hole in his mind where something precious used to be. "The first payment is received," the Arbiter said. Marcus forced himself to stand straight. "Continue." The dreams went next. This was harder to understand because dreams were not a single thing. They were every night, every strange journey through the sleeping mind. The Arbiter did not take memories of dreams. It took the ability itself. Marcus felt something close inside him, some door that had always been open. He would sleep, but he would never dream again. His nights would be empty and black, without the strange stories the mind tells itself in darkness. The second payment is received. Around the chamber, beings had gathered to watch. News traveled fast on the Nexus. A human was making an exchange, and the price was extraordinary. The watchers whispered to each other in languages Marcus did not understand. Some looked at him with curiosity. Some looked at him with pity. Some looked at him like he was insane. Among the watchers, Marcus saw a group of Vethkai. They were tall beings with skin like blue glass and eyes that saw in wavelengths humans could not imagine. The neural plague was killing their species most of all. One of them was speaking to an assistant. "This human has perhaps 35 years left to live," the Vethkai said. "He is giving away 30 of them." "For what? For one scientist?" "Perhaps he does not understand the mathematics," the assistant replied. "Perhaps. Or perhaps humans are simply mad." The arbiter's tendrils withdrew from Marcus's head, and new ones emerged from the floor. These wrapped around his wrists and ankles. Marcus felt something flow out of him, not a memory or an ability, but time itself. His remaining years were being counted, measured, and taken. He watched his hands. The skin did not wrinkle. His hair did not turn gray. The change was invisible, internal. But Marcus knew it was happening. He could feel his life growing shorter with every passing second. When it was done, he felt tired in a way he had never felt before. Not sleepy, not exhausted, just tired, deep in his bones, in his soul. The third payment is received. "And the servitude?" Marcus asked. 17 cycles. "You will serve the Nexus however we require. You will maintain systems. You will resolve disputes. You will do whatever is asked of you. You will not leave this station until your debt is paid." Marks began to appear on Marcus's skin. They started at his wrists and spread up his arms, across his shoulders, onto his chest. They were the brands of contract, the signs that he belonged to the Nexus now. Every being on the station would see them and know that Marcus was property. "I understand," Marcus said. "The transaction is complete. The human scientist Yara Okonkwo is now free." A door opened at the far end of the chamber. 2 guards entered, and between them walked a woman. She was thin, too thin, with dark skin and short hair had gone gray at the temples. Her clothes were torn. Her eyes were hollow, but she was alive. Yara Okonkwo looked around the chamber in confusion. When she saw Marcus, her expression changed to shock. "Commander Cole? What are you doing here? How did you find me?" "I came to take you home, Doctor." Marcus's voice was steady, but speaking was hard. Everything was hard now. "Your research is needed. The plague is getting worse." Yara stepped closer, and then she saw the marks on his skin. Her face went pale. "What are those? What did you do? What was necessary?" No, this is wrong." "What did you pay? What did they take from you?" Marcus did not want to tell her, but she deserved to know. 17 years of servitude, 30 years of my life, my dreams, and one memory. Yara's hands covered her mouth. Tears formed in her eyes. "Why? Why would you do this?" "I'm just one person." "You've destroyed yourself for one person." "You're not just one person," Marcus said. "You're the person who can save billions. The plague is spreading, Yara. Whole planets are dying. Children are losing their minds. Parents are forgetting their own names. You were close to a cure. You can finish it. But the cost. The cost is too high. The cost was the price. And I could pay it. So I did." The collector emerged from the shadows. His stitched-together face showed something Marcus had not expected. It was not anger at losing his prize. It was interest, perhaps even respect. In 4,000 years of collecting, the collector said, I have never seen a being pay full price without attempting to negotiate. Your species truly does not understand value. We understand it differently, Marcus replied. The collector laughed, that horrible wet sound. Yes, I suppose you do. Take your scientist, human. Take her before I change my mind about letting her go. Yara was still crying. I can't leave you here. I can't let you serve 17 years in this place. You can. You will. Because that's why I did this. Marcus reached out and took her hand. His grip was weak. Everything was weak now. Go home. Finish your research. Save as many people as you can. That's all I ask. I'll come back for you. When the cure is finished, I'll find a way to free you. Marcus shook his head. Don't make promises you can't keep. Just do your work. That's enough. That's everything. A ship was waiting to take Yara back to human space. Marcus walked her to the docking bay. Every step was difficult. He felt old in a way that had nothing to do with years dot at the entrance to the ship. Yara turned back one last time. I don't understand you, she said. I don't understand how you could do this. You don't have to understand, Marcus said. You just have to live. Go save the galaxy, Doctor. I'll be fine. She looked at him for a long moment, trying to memorize his face. Then she turned and walked onto the ship. The doors closed behind her. Marcus stood alone in the docking bay, watching through the window as the ship pulled away from the station and disappeared into the stars. Then he turned and walked back into the Nexus. He had 17 years of work ahead of him, and it was time to begin. The station floated at the edge of known space like a metal spider waiting in its web. They called it the Nexus. It was a place where laws meant nothing and everything had a price. Commander Marcus Cole had heard stories about it for years. Smugglers whispered about it in dark corners. Pirates spoke of it with respect and fear. Now he was walking through its doors, and the stories had not prepared him for what he found. The air smelled wrong. It carried the scent of 100 different species, their foods, their waste, their fear. Lights flickered in colors that human eyes were never meant to see. Creatures moved through the crowds that Marcus could not name. Some walked on 2 legs. Some crawled on many. Some floated through the air like living smoke. Marcus kept his head down and his hand near his weapon. He was not here to cause trouble. He was here to find someone. Dr. Yara Okonkwo had disappeared 6 months ago. She was a xenobiologist, one of the best humanity had ever produced. She had been studying a terrible disease called the Vethkai neural plague. The plague was spreading through the galaxy like fire through dry grass. Entire planets were dying. Billions of people were losing their minds, their memories, their ability to think. Yara had been close to finding a cure. Then she vanished. Coalition intelligence had traced her to the Nexus. Someone had taken her. Someone was keeping her locked away while the galaxy burned. Marcus had served in the Coalition fleet for 11 years. He had earned medals from 3 different species. He had learned to speak 7 languages and negotiate with beings that did not understand human emotions. None of that mattered now. He was just a man looking for a woman in a place where life meant nothing. He found an information broker in the lower levels. The creature looked like a pile of wet leather with too many eyes. It spoke through a translator box that made its voice sound like breaking glass. The human scientist, it said. Yes, I know where she is. But this knowledge is not free. Marcus placed a credit chip on the table. The broker laughed, a horrible wet sound. Credits mean nothing here, human. The Nexus runs on different currency. What will you give me that has real value? Marcus thought for a moment. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small metal disc. It was a service medal given to him by the Vethkai after he saved one of their colony ships. It was made of rare metal from their home world. The broker's eyes widened with greed. Yes, this will do. The scientist is held by the collector. You will find him in the upper spire. But human, let me give you free advice. Walk away. The collector does not sell. He keeps. Marcus took the information and left. He did not look back. The upper spire was a different world from the lower levels. Here, the wealthy and powerful made their homes. The halls were clean and quiet. Guards stood at every corner, their weapons ready. Marcus walked past them all. He had learned long ago that confidence was the best disguise. The collector's domain filled an entire level of the spire. The doors were massive, carved from the bones of some creature Marcus did not recognize. They opened as he approached, and he stepped inside. The room beyond was a museum of horrors. Glass cases lined the walls, and inside each case was a living creature. Some were sleeping. Some were awake, their eyes following Marcus as he walked past. Some were clearly dying, their bodies kept alive by machines. The collector did not just keep things. He displayed them. A voice came from the shadows. A human. How interesting. We do not get many humans here. The collector stepped into the light. He was tall, taller than any human, and his body was wrapped in fabric that seemed to move on its own. His face was the worst part. It was made of pieces, different features from different species, stitched together into something that almost looked like a face, but was not. I am looking for Dr. Yara Okonkwo, Marcus said. His voice did not shake. I want to buy her freedom. The collector laughed. Buy? With what? Credits? Weapons? Technology? I have all of these things. I have everything. Then name your price. I do not sell my collection, human. Each piece is unique. Each piece is precious. Your scientist is particularly valuable. Her knowledge, her potential, the way her mind works. She is a treasure. Marcus felt anger rising in his chest, but he pushed it down. Anger would not help here. Everything has a price. Name yours. The collector studied him with those horrible stitched-together eyes. You are serious. How amusing. Very well, human. If you truly wish to purchase her freedom, you must speak with the Arbiter. The Nexus has one law, and the Arbiter enforces it. Equivalent exchange. You may offer whatever you wish, but the Arbiter will determine if it is enough. Marcus nodded. Where do I find the Arbiter? The center of the station. But human, understand this. The Arbiter does not accept credits or goods. It only accepts sacrifice. Real sacrifice. Are you prepared to give up something that truly matters? Yes. The collector's mouth twisted into something like a smile. Then go. I look forward to seeing what you offer. I suspect it will be entertaining. Marcus left the collector's domain and made his way to the center of the station. The halls grew older as he walked, the metal walls giving way to stone and then to something that looked almost organic. The air grew thick and heavy. The lights grew dim. The Arbiter's chamber was vast and empty except for the creature at its center. The Arbiter was not alive in any way Marcus understood. It was a machine, or perhaps it was a living thing that had become a machine, or perhaps it was something else entirely. It had 1,000 eyes, and all of them turned to look at Marcus as he entered. Human, it said. Its voice came from everywhere at once, from the walls, from the floor, from inside Marcus's own head. You wish to make an exchange? Yes. I want to purchase the freedom of Dr. Yara Okonkwo. She is held by the collector. I know who she is. I know what she is worth. The Arbiter's eyes moved, calculating, measuring. The collector values her highly. Her knowledge, her potential, her rarity. The price for her freedom is significant. Name it. 17 cycles of servitude to the Nexus. The memory of your greatest joy. your ability to dream, and 30 years of your remaining lifespan. Marcus felt the words hit him like physical blows. 17 years of slavery, the memory he treasured most, the dreams that kept him sane during long space voyages. 30 years of life. He was 43 years old. He might live to 80 under normal circumstances. The Arbiter was asking for nearly half of everything he had left. He thought of Yara, locked in a glass case. He thought of the plague, spreading through the stars. He thought of the billions who would die without a cure. "Done," he said. The Arbiter paused. Every eye focused on Marcus with new intensity. "You accept without negotiation? Without question? May I rescue her?" "You may. But human, you have not asked the full cost. There may be more. I don't care." Marcus stepped forward. "Whatever it takes. Whatever you want. Just let me save her." The Arbiter was silent for a long moment. Then it spoke again, and there was something almost like wonder in its voice. "In 10,000 years, no being has ever accepted full price without bargaining. You are either very brave or very foolish, human." "Maybe both," Marcus said. "Do we have a deal?" "We do." The Arbiter reached out with tendrils Marcus had not seen before, and the transaction began. 3 years passed. Marcus worked. He slept without dreams. He grew older in body and spirit. The marks of servitude on his skin had faded from bright red to dull gray, showing how much of his debt remained. He had become something of a legend on the Nexus. New arrivals would hear about the human who had paid the impossible price. Some came to see him, curious about the strange creature who had given away everything. Most were disappointed. They expected something special, something dramatic. What they found was a tired man doing maintenance work in the lower levels. But then the collective came. The collective of the Vethkai was not a single being. It was a network of minds, thousands of individuals connected through neural technology, thinking together as one vast intelligence. Before the plague, the collective had spanned 12 star systems. It was one of the oldest and most powerful intelligences in the galaxy. The plague had damaged it badly. Many of its members had died or been disconnected. But it was healing now, thanks to Yara's cure. And it had become interested in something new. The collective arrived on the Nexus without warning. A ship unlike anything the station had ever seen docked at the upper spire. Beings emerged that were clearly Vethkai, but moved in perfect coordination, like fingers on a single hand. "We wish to see the human called Marcus Cole." The collective spoke through 1,000 mouths at once. Marcus was brought to them. He was dirty from work, tired from too many hours without rest. He stood before the collective without fear. He had nothing left to be afraid of. "You are the one who saved our species," the collective said. "I saved one scientist. She saved your species. Without you, she would still be in a cage. Without you, we would be dying. The mathematics are clear. You are the source." Marcus shrugged. His shoulders were sore from carrying equipment through narrow tunnels. "If you came to thank me, consider it done. I have work to do." "We did not come to thank you. We came to understand you." The collective moved closer. Its many eyes studied Marcus like he was a puzzle that needed solving. "We have calculated your exchange," the collective continued. "We have analyzed every variable. By every measurement we possess, what you did was irrational. You traded most of your remaining existence for one life. The numbers do not balance. The equation does not solve. Maybe your equations are missing something. That is what we believe. That is why we are here. We wish to understand what we are missing. We wish to learn the variable that makes human behavior make sense." Marcus laughed. It was the first time he had laughed in years, and it felt strange in his throat. You traveled across the galaxy to ask me why I did what I did? Yes, you could have sent a message. Some questions require presence. Some answers cannot be transmitted through space. Marcus looked at the collective, this vast intelligence made of thousands of minds. It had calculated the movements of stars. It had solved problems that other species could not even understand. And now it was confused by one human making one choice. "All right," Marcus said. "I'll try to explain. But I don't think you're going to like the answer. We are prepared for that possibility." Marcus sat down on a nearby crate. His legs were tired. Everything was tired. "When I made that deal," he said, "I didn't calculate anything. I didn't weigh the costs against the benefits. I didn't think about how many years I was giving up or what I would lose. I just knew that if I didn't do it, I couldn't live with myself." "Could not live with yourself?" "What does that mean?" "It means that there's more to existence than years and memories and dreams. There's also being able to look at yourself and know that you did the right thing when it mattered." Marcus met the collective's many eyes. "Every night, I go to sleep in a cell. I can't dream. I can't remember my daughter being born. I'm going to die decades before I should. But I don't regret anything. Because I know who I am. I know what I'm worth." The collective was silent for a long moment, processing. "You are saying that humans optimize for internal coherence rather than external outcomes?" "I'm saying we optimize for being able to live with ourselves. Sometimes that means making choices that don't make sense from the outside. Sometimes it means paying prices that seem too high. But for us, being able to look in the mirror is worth more than anything else. This is not rational." "No, but it's human." The collective considered this. Its thousands of minds worked together, trying to incorporate this new variable into their understanding of the universe. "We wish to study this further," the collective finally said. "We wish to observe you, to learn from you. I'm not going anywhere. 13 years of servitude left. That is why we have come." The collective turned and moved toward the Arbiter's chamber. Marcus followed, confused. What were they doing? The Arbiter's 1,000 eyes focused on the new arrivals. "We wish to purchase the remaining servitude of the human Marcus." "Cole," the collective announced. Marcus felt his heart stop. "The price of 13 cycles is considerable," the Arbiter said. "What do you offer?" "We offer knowledge. The complete mathematical models for stellar evolution that we have developed over 7,000 years. We offer resources. Access to 3 mining systems in our territory. We offer service. 100 of our members will serve the Nexus for 5 cycles." The Arbiter calculated. Its many eyes moved, processing the offer. "The exchange is acceptable," it finally said. Marcus stood frozen. "What? No. Wait. Why would you do this?" The collective turned to face him. "You asked us to calculate your equation. We have done so. The variable we were missing is what you call conscience. The need to be able to live with oneself. We have realized that we possess this variable as well, but we had never considered it in our calculations." "I don't understand." "You saved our species. Marcus Cole, trillions of our people will live because of what you did. For 3 years, we have known this, and we have done nothing. We have not been able to live with ourselves." The collective's many voices softened. "Now we will be able to." The marks on Marcus's skin began to fade. The brands of servitude dissolved like smoke in wind. For the first time in 3 years, he was free. "We do not do this only for you," the collective continued. "We do this for us. We wish to learn more about humans, about how you make choices, about this variable that we have been missing. We are establishing an institute on our home world. We would like you to help us teach." Marcus looked down at his unmarked arms. He had expected to die on this station. He had accepted that fate years ago. "You want me to teach?" he asked. "We want to understand. You can help us." Marcus thought about the years ahead of him. Not many, thanks to what the Arbiter had taken, but enough. Enough to do something more than repair broken pipes in dirty tunnels. "All right," he said. "I'll teach. But I'm going to need to make a stop first. There's someone I need to see." "Your daughter?" Marcus nodded. He could not remember the day she was born, but he remembered everything else. He remembered her first steps, her first words, her graduation from the academy. He had missed so much of her life. "Yes," he said. "My daughter. I think it's time I went home." The transport ship was small and quiet. Marcus sat by the window, watching the stars pass by. He had spent 3 years staring at metal walls and flickering lights. Now he was looking at the universe again, and it was more beautiful than he remembered. Earth grew larger in the window. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds swirling across the surface. Home. He had not expected to see it again. Elena was waiting at the spaceport. She was 32 now, a commander in her own right. She had her mother's eyes and her father's stubborn jaw. When she saw Marcus walking through the gate, she ran to him and threw her arms around him. "Dad," she whispered. "I thought I'd never see you again." "I thought so too." They held each other for a long time. Marcus tried to memorize the feeling, to store it somewhere the Arbiter could never reach. "You look old," Elena finally said, pulling back to study his face. "I am old. Older than I should be. I know. I read the reports. The Coalition told us what you did." Her eyes were wet. "Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you let me try to help? There was nothing you could do. And I didn't want you to worry. I worried anyway. For 3 years I worried every single day." Marcus reached up and touched her face. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." They left the spaceport together. Elena had a small apartment near the naval base. It was neat and organized, everything in its proper place. Marcus sat on the couch and looked around at his daughter's life. There were pictures on the walls. Elena at her graduation. Elena receiving her commission. Elena standing with friends and colleagues. There were no pictures of him. "I couldn't look at them," Elena explained, seeing where his eyes had gone. "It hurt too much, knowing you were out there serving in that place. I kept thinking about how I should have done something, how I should have found a way to help. There was nothing to do. The price was mine to pay. It shouldn't have been. It wasn't fair. Fair has nothing to do with it." Marcus leaned back on the couch. His body ached. It always ached now. "I had something I could give, and someone needed help. That's all there was to it." Elena sat down beside him. "Dr. Okonkwo called me. After she was rescued, she reached out. She told me what you did. She cried. I'd never heard someone cry like that. She had nothing to cry about. She did her job. She saved billions of people. She said the same thing about you." Marcus smiled slightly. "Then we're even." A week later, Marcus said goodbye to his daughter and boarded a ship bound for Vethkai space. The collective was waiting. The institute they had built was unlike anything humans had created. It was a vast complex of interconnected buildings, each one designed for different kinds of learning. There were rooms for discussion, rooms for meditation, rooms for something the Vethkai called shared consciousness, where multiple minds could think together. Marcus was given his own quarters. They were simple but comfortable. A bed, a desk, a window that looked out over an alien landscape of purple plants and silver rivers. "We have named this place the Cole Institute," the collective informed him. "After you. That's not necessary." "It is accurate. You are the reason it exists." Students began to arrive. They came from all over HFY space, young minds eager to learn about the strange human variable that their elders could not explain. Some were skeptical. Some were curious. Some were desperate for answers that Marcus taught them as best he could. He talked about conscience, about the need to be able to live with your choices. He talked about sacrifice, about giving without expecting return. He talked about love, about how humans would do anything for the people they cared about. But this does not make mathematical sense, one student complained. If everyone sacrificed for others, the total utility would decrease. Society would collapse, would it? Marcus asked. Think about what happened when I rescued Dr. Okonkwo. I gave up 70% of my remaining existence. That's a big loss for one individual. But her work saved billions. The total utility increased. But you could not have known that would happen. No, I couldn't. But I believed it might. And even if it hadn't, I would have done the same thing. Why? Marcus thought for a moment. How did you explain something that was so fundamental to human nature? Because that's who I wanted to be, he finally said. I wanted to be the kind of person who helps. The kind of person who sacrifices. Even if it costs everything. Even if no one ever knows. He looked at the student. Humans don't make choices based only on what we expect to gain. We make choices based on what kind of beings we want to become. The student was quiet for a long time. Then it asked, can this be learned? I don't know. That's what we're trying to find out. Years passed. The institute grew. Beings from other species began to visit, curious about this strange new field of study. Some called it human decision theory. Others called it conscience mathematics. Marcus just called it trying to be good. Yara came to visit once. She was old now, her hair completely white. But her eyes were still bright, still full of the fire that had made her such a great scientist. I never stopped feeling guilty, she told Marcus. Every day, I wake up and think about what you gave for me. Don't, Marcus said. The guilt helps no one. What helps is what you do with the life you have. I know. I've tried. The plague cure was just the beginning. We've developed treatments for 6 other diseases. We've saved millions more. She paused. But it never feels like enough. It never will. That's how conscience works. You're never done. You just keep trying to do better. Yara smiled, a sad and knowing smile. How did you get so wise? I'm not wise. I'm just old and tired, and I've had a lot of time to think. They sat together in silence, 2 old friends watching the alien sun set over purple hills. Do you regret it? Yara finally asked. Any of it? Marcus thought about everything he had lost. The memory of Elena being born. The dreams he would never have again. The years that had been stolen from his life. He thought about the pain and the loneliness and the hard labor in the depths of the Nexus. Then he thought about the billions who were alive because of what he had done. The children who grew up with their minds intact. The families that stayed whole. The species that did not die. No, he said. Not one moment. He died 3 years later in his sleep, in his small room at the Institute. He was 61 years old. By normal human standards, he should have lived another 20 years. But those years had been spent long ago, traded for something he considered more valuable. At his funeral, beings from 17 different species gathered to pay their respects. The collective spoke first. Marcus Cole taught us that value cannot be measured only in years or credits or capabilities. He taught us that the most important calculation is the one we make when we look at ourselves and ask if we like what we see. He gave up everything he had, and in doing so, he became richer than anyone we have ever known. Elena spoke last. Her voice was steady, though her eyes were full of tears. My father used to tell me that the universe was full of hard choices. He said that most people spend their lives trying to avoid them. But the ones who face them, the ones who pay the price without complaining, those are the ones who make the universe better. She paused and looked at the gathered crowd. They used to ask me, "What kind of person do you want to be?" I've spent my whole life trying to answer that question. I hope that when I die, I'll have an answer half as good as his. The sun set over the purple hills. The stars came out, millions of points of light spreading across an infinite sky dot, and in the centuries that followed, the Cole Institute became one of the most important places in the galaxy. Not because of the technology it developed or the problems it solved, but because of the simple question it taught every student to ask before making any decision. What kind of being do I want to be? The humans, it turned out, had been asking that question all along. And now the rest of the galaxy was beginning to understand why.